To build or to buy? That is the question for today's video. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical, and we're going to tackle the great debate, to build or to buy, because I've done a lot of both. And lately I've been getting really into building, and so I'm going to talk about why, once you have started to understand the AR platform and just guns in general, why I think building is a great way to go. Before we do get started, please subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical. Please like and share this video and leave me a comment. Do you buy full built, cut, factory ARs, or do you build your own? Let me know. So about a year ago, I did a video featuring this rifle right here. Not really in its current form, but fairly close to this. And I asked the question, to build or buy. And in that video, I proposed that it made a lot of sense, especially for a new gun owner, to buy a factory AR and then to upgrade it and replace parts as they felt like they wanted to, as they learned what they wanted their AR to be and how to make it exactly what they wanted. And to an extent, I still do agree with that. I think that that was the right way to go with my first AR, because I learned a heck of a lot about the platform that way, and I wouldn't have known what I wanted without having started at some kind of base level and finding out what I didn't want. And that's how I knew what I wanted when I started building my own, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So, just that little caveat, I do still believe that if it's your first AR, it's probably a good idea to buy a factory gun that you know is going to be reliable and work. Just make sure you get a quality one. The Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2 is about, I would say, the baseline for quality, reliable rifle that's not going to break the bank. Palmetto State Armory is another great way to go to not break the bank, but to get something that's a decent enough quality that you can upgrade and customize as you go and turn it into your own. So that is what I did with my first couple ARs. I got a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2, and it went through a bunch of different changes to get where it is today. And there's still changes I want to make to it. In fact, last week I changed the stock out for a B5 Systems, and eventually I will replace the O-Light for something just a little more reliable, although I got to admit, that O-Light keeps working, so if it ain't broke, why fix it? At least for now. Now, my second AR, I did the same thing, although by that point, I had a better idea of what I wanted in a gun. I got an 11.5-inch barrel, and I got something that already had a free float handguard and decent enough furniture, SB Tactical SBA3 brace, which is going to be part of the point of this video. It had some Magpul furniture, which I have replaced since because I wanted more of a vertical grip angle. Everything else, I added to it, but I didn't have to pull off parts and replace them as much as I did with my first one. So it didn't quite cost as much, where you end up buying every part twice, the original parts and then all your replacement parts. But because of those first couple ARs, I learned a lot about the platform by doing all the work on them myself, and I learned a lot about what I wanted out of the platform as far as furniture, ergonomics, building guns to a specific purpose. And then I started building my own. And if you guys have followed the channel, hopefully maybe you've seen these build series, and we are about to start the next one soon. But the first true build I did was this. This is a 9mm AR. I already had a couple in 5.56. And so I started venturing out into different calibers, because that's one of the great things about the AR-15 is how versatile it is. And, you can build ARs in lots of different calibers. So I decided I wanted a PCC, and At the time, an MP5 was a little bit out of reach as far as just economics goes. But I also decided that I wanted to just try building one. And a 9mm, if you're gonna start building, a 9mm is a great first build. There's no gas system that you have to deal with. It's just a straight blowback action. And so it's a very simple build, which is kind of nice for your first one, builds that confidence. And I do think that everyone, if you get into this lifestyle, this hobby, you're gonna eventually want to start building. And if you don't, take my word for it, you should. It gives you a whole new appreciation for firearms, for the physics and engineering that goes into them and how they work, how they function, and how to kind of optimize them. And there is nothing more satisfying than when you put your own build together from the ground up and you take it out to the range and it works perfectly, which is what happened with both of these two builds that we're just about to talk about. So this is an Aero Precision upper, lower handguard bolt. I think those are the only parts that are Aero Precision, but my local gun store, Guffey's Gun and Pawn, if you're in the south, central Idaho area, check them out. Those guys are awesome. Pretty much everything on this wall behind me has come from there in some way or another. They carry a lot of Aero Precision stuff, and they basically had all the parts that I needed for the EPC9 build. And so what I did is I bought one part at a time. And that's the other great thing about building, is if you don't quite have $1,000 or more to buy a whole new gun, you can buy it a piece at a time and build it over time, and it just doesn't hurt the wallet quite as much. So I started with buying the lower receiver, lower parts kit. Then I bought an upper receiver, then a handguard, then a barrel, then, and added each part as I needed to go. Whatever the next step in the build was, next paycheck, I got the next part. And that is one of the other great advantages of building. Besides learning about the platform, learning how it all functions together, you get to pay for it over time if you want to, which makes it easier to acquire more guns, at least it has for me. So this little 9mm build was a very fun first build to do. 9mm builds are a little bit more expensive, which is funny to me because it's a simpler design. There's no bolt carrier lockup, no gas system, stuff like that. But for some reason, the parts, the receivers, the bolt, the buffer system is actually more expensive than like a 5.56 AR would be. But still, very, very fun gun to build. And then when you take it out and it works perfectly, it's very satisfying. Now, eventually, after I'd put a certain amount of rounds through it, I actually started getting some malfunctions with this that apparently are fairly common with the EPC9. And it has to do with the feed cone on the barrel not feeding certain rounds reliably. But that was a good thing too, because I had to troubleshoot that and then get in there with a Dremel and do some polishing, and now it works great. Which is another part of the whole thing, is learning. Once you put it all together yourself, if you do start having any kinds of problems, it makes it easier to diagnose those problems because you know how it all works. Aero Precision EPC9 that I built myself. So after getting my feet wet with the 9mm build, I felt like I was ready to do a full-blown real AR-15. And so that's when I built this 300 Blackout, which I hope you guys followed along the build series on this. This was a very fun gun to build. And in putting this one together, my whole driving force behind this one is I wanted to build one more higher end, more mid-tier, use better quality parts, and build a gun really that was exactly what I wanted. And I wanted to build a perfect home defense firearm. And also I wanted it in 300 Blackout to be able to suppress it effectively and to be able to have something nice and short, maneuverable for inside the house. And that's the great thing about building, is I was able to put together exactly that. I didn't have to buy something off the shelf and then make it into what I wanted. From the ground up, I started with exactly what I knew I wanted in my mind and built it from there. And like I said with the 9mm one, is I bought the parts as I needed them so as not to have to pay for the whole thing at once, especially with, more expensive parts. It was easier to do it a little bit over time. So again, I started with Aero Precision for the lower and the upper receiver because I am impressed with their fit and finish, their quality, the machining is good, and it's for the price, it's really fantastic stuff. So started with that, but I went with higher end parts with this one. I put in a Geisley trigger. This is the SSP, which it is such a light, crisp, single stage trigger. It's just amazing. I love the flat face and just the way it looks even. I also, on this build, I went with a Radian Talon ambidextrous safety. You can have it either 45 or 90 degree throw. I love the 45 because I can click it on with my thumb, off with my trigger finger, and it is very fast, which at the range is really nice. And in fact, I'm so spoiled with this Talon safety that just like the Radian Raptor charging handles that I now use in all of my ARs, this Talon safety is going to go in all of them too. I just ordered one for my 16-inch, should be here later this week. I instead of using the Magpul bad lever like I had in the past, I actually used a Geisley Maritime Bolt Catch, also Geisley Super 42 buffer system with an H2 buffer, mainly because this tanidizing kind of went with the whole black and tan look of the Flat Dark Earth receiver set and handguard. Also had to put the tan Phase 5 strap on the SBA3 brace. This one's got a Streamlight ProTac HLX light on it with a pressure pad on an Arasaka offset mount and a Holosun HS512C optic, which is just fantastic. It's got this giant window, super clear, circle dot reticle, just like an EOTech. This thing is fast. It's got a shake awake, so it's got really incredible battery life, and it's always ready to go as soon as you need it. And really at this point, I'm just waiting on the suppressor for this Roscoe 8.2-inch 416R stainless steel barrel. This gun is sweet. It's everything I wanted in a short 300 Blackout, and it'll be that much better once I can suppress it. And I just love everything about it. And I feel like I love it that much more because it's my own, because I built it myself, picked every single part that I wanted, and built exactly what I wanted out of this gun. And that is why I'm so adamant about building. And like I said, maybe not for your very first one, pick something that you know is going to work and maybe upgrade that over time. But once you know what you want, there really is no more satisfying feeling in firearms than building your gun yourself from the ground up, taking it to the range that first day that you've got it done, charging it, and running through a few mags, and everything cycles perfectly, and it's accurate and reliable and does what you want. It's a great feeling. So I believe if you have not built your own yet, and I'm talking specifically ARs, but guns in general, if you think that you could build yourself an AK, that you could press rivets and and do all that stuff, that takes a lot more work than just assembling an AR does. And it takes some other skills and specialized tools in order to do that. But building guns in general is a very, very satisfying feeling. I think every gun I have here pretty much is modified in some way, because that's part of the fun of gun ownership, is customizing it and making it what works best for you. And building your own guns just takes that one step further. You get to know every little detail about your firearm. You can diagnose any problems you might have because you understand how it all works together. You can pick out exactly what parts you want and build exactly the gun that you want. And like I said, there's just something really satisfying about putting something together yourself and having it work correctly. It's a great feeling. And so fairly soon we're going to start the next build series. This one is going to be a handgun. I think I'm going to do a Glock build. In fact, I was looking at parts just yesterday at the local gun store, Guffey's Gun and Pawn again. So I think that will start very soon. In fact, I might even order the Glock frame today. And I'm thinking about a Palmetto State Armory dagger grip frame to get the build started. That's the serialized portion. If you guys have built Glocks and you can think of one that is better, that is also not going to just break the bank, let me know, because that's I've just been trying to figure out exactly which grip frame to get started. So yeah, let me know what you guys know about that. If you know more than I do, I would love to hear your opinions. And also, please tell me, do you build your own guns? Have you built your own ARs? Do you forge your own AKs? No, I don't know. But what do you think? Build or buy? What do you feel like is the way to go? I used to be in the camp to buy and then build it out, customize it. Now I am literally all about building. It's, to me, building guns is just as fun, if not more so, than shooting them is. It's a very satisfying hobby to have. It's very fun, and you're able to acquire guns without having to pay for the full gun all at once, which I think is very cool. My most recent build, the custom 300 Blackout. So a point that I want to make about the specific builds that I've done, though, is this. I specifically have built ARs with barrels less than 16 inches. And being able to use braces, specifically the SB Tactical SBA3 brace on both of these builds, has made me be able to build guns that are shorter barreled legally without having to file for a tax stamp for SBRs. And so it has made it easier to build what I want. And as a firearm enthusiast, as a hobbyist, as somebody that enjoys this lifestyle, that's a really nice thing to be able to do. And the ATF wants to take that away from us right now, wants us to have to register all these braced firearms as SBRs, and I think that's bullshit. So let me know what you guys think about that, and because it's something that's really bothering me lately. If you do follow the channel, you've seen the last few videos I've put out have been about this new pistol brace rule that's dropping this week. Maybe by the time this video comes out, the rule will already be out. And I've got a bunch of these things, as I'm sure some of you guys do as well. So besides commenting about your builds versus buying, everything else, let me know what you think about the new pistol brace rule and what you plan to do about it. And again, from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.